Hi, I'm Sarah Fleming. For my oral presentation, I was tasked with choosing an artist, so I chose Juan Sanchez. He was born in Brooklyn, New York in 1954. So your first thought might be, wow, he's not Hispanic, but he is. His parents were Puerto Ricans of an African descent, also known as Afro-Puerto Ricans. So I didn't know what this meant. After some research, I found out that between 1600 and 1700, many Africans went to Puerto Rico to help the Spanish mine gold. And then they ended up sticking around. So Juan Sanchez's love of art began with comic books. They allowed him to use his imagination, so he would create more comic book-like things, and just really was intrigued with the art and the stories that they could tell with very little words. His parents were super supportive of him and wanted him to pursue art the best he could as long as he was passionate about it. So he was enrolled in the High School of Art and Design, where he learned to really deepen his love of the arts and just grow and learn about how to utilize art properly or to the best of his ability. He had one young Jewish teacher named Miss Thurston who ended up having a meeting with his parents to ask them to enroll him in more art-centered classes and design classes. So after that, it paid off because he went to the Cooper Union School of the Arts, where he originally majored in graphic design. He wanted to combine his love of the arts with something that could get him money because he didn't want to starve as an artist, which is what he had heard all of his life. He tried to freelance, but his professors would tear apart his ideas whenever he presented them, and he wasn't getting much business. So he changed his career focus to fine arts, which also ended up paying off because he was able to get his Master's of Fine Arts from the Mason Gross School of Arts at Rutgers University. So he wanted to have a very specific, identifiable kind of art that was very unique to him and his culture. He wanted it to represent Puerto Ricans as long as things like cultural identity, equality, social justice, and self-determination. His whole life, he struggled with identity and figuring out who he was or what he wanted his art to portray because he was African American, Puerto Rican, a New Yorker, a New Yorkian, which is Puerto Ricans who live in New York, and a Brooklynite all at the same time. So he didn't know what side of him, what culture of him he really wanted to channel for his art to make a difference. So his most popular type of art was multi-layered collages with photography and paintings. So it's kind of what it sounds like, but I'm going to try to describe it for you just to give you like a visual. So most of his artwork would start off with a picture in the middle. So one of his most popular ones has a couple young girls there, one smiling, one has a very solemn look on her face. It's in black and white. And then around the edges of the picture, he used the Puerto Rican colors to just make it pop a little bit. He would tear out pictures and paste them on the canvas with glue, leaving the edges rough to create a rougher look. He would choose different colors to incorporate and kind of like scribble around the canvas. It sounds a lot less artistic than it looks, I promise. And in the background, he would do his best to incorporate stars or flags or something to indicate his cultural heritage, or what he was trying to portray with the picture. He wanted his pictures to tell a story and make his art unique for him. He knows that his art wouldn't tell the same story to every person who looked at it. So people from Puerto Rico would see this suffrage that they had felt. He described one of his pictures as the beauty that Puerto Rican child symbolizes is a never-ending struggle of people striving for dignity and self-determination. I wish the viewer could feel the extent of my people's anguish as well as their prevailing joys. So he just wanted just his culture to be like shine through his art. He was very passionate about it and still is. So thank you very much for listening.